Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to 14 Stars Islamic Center for tonight's program, inshallah. We're going to start our program with the recitation of Quran, chapter Al-Furqan, page 359. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي نزل الفرقان على عبده ليكون للعالمين نذيرا الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض ولم يتخذ ولدا ولم يكن له شريك في الملك وخلق كل شيء فقدره تقديرا واتخذوا من دونه آلهة لا يخلقون شيئا وهم يخلقون ولا يملكون لأنفسهم ضرا ولا نفعا ولا يملكون موتا ولا حياة ولا نشورا وقال الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا أفك افتراه وعانوا عليه قوم آخرون فقد جاءوا ظلما وزورا وقالوا أساطير الأولين اكتتبها فهي تملى عليه بكرة وأصيلا قل أنزله الذي يعلم السر في السماوات والأرض إنه كان غفورا رحيما وقالوا ما لهذا الرسول يأكل الطعام ويمشي في الأسواق لولا أنزل إليه ملك فيكون معه نذيرا أو يلقى إليه كنز أو تكون له جنة يأكل منها وقال الظالمون إن تتبعون إلا رجلا مسحورا انظر كيف ضربوا لك الأمثال فضلوا فلا يستطيعون سبيلا تبارك الذي إن شاء جعل لك خيرا من ذلك جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ويجعل لك قصورا بل كذبوا بالساعة وأعتدنا لمن كذب بالساعة سعيرا إذا رأتهم من مكان بعيد سمعوا لها تغيظا وزفيرا وإذا ألقوا منها مكانا ضيقا مقرنين دعوا هنالك ثبورا لا تدعوا اليوم ثبورا واحدا وادعوا ثبورا كثيرا قل ذلك خير أم جنة الخلد التي وعد المتقون كانت لهم جزاء ومصيرا لهم فيها ما يشاءون خالدين كان على ربك وعدا مسئولا ويوم يحشرهم وما يعبدون من دون الله فيقول أنتم أضللتم عبادي هؤلاء أم هم ضلوا السبيل قالوا سبحانك ما كان ينبغي لنا أن نتخذ من دونك من أولياء حتى نسوا الذكر وكانوا قوما بورا فقد كذبوكم بما تقولون فما تستطيعون صرفا ولا نصرا ومن يظلم منكم نذقه عذابا كبيرا وما أرسلنا قبلك من المرسلين إلا إنهم ليأكلون الطعام ويمشون في الأسواق وجعلنا بعضكم لبعض فتنة أتصبرون وكان ربك بصيرا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسنتم حاجة. جزاكم الله خير. Brothers and sisters, we're moving to listen to some poems by our brothers and sisters, brothers who are prepared some poems to share with us. And I have Haj Hassan Faiz. Haj Hassan, if you are ready, you can start. Just 1 second. Yes, Akhi Haj Hassan, Bismillah.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
نازمان آموزگاری را که در یک نصف روز دانش آموزان عالم را همه دانا کند. ابتدا قانون آزادی نویسد بر زمین، بعد از آن با خون 72 تن امضا کند. تو کیستی که دل عالمی بود وطنت، سلام روز با آیات مذهب بدنت، طواف قافله دل به دور قتلگرد، شرار آتش جانها چراغ انجمنت. سلام بر تو که با خون خویش کردی غوث، سلام بر تو که گردید بوریا کفنت. تو را با پیرهنی پاره پاره حاجت نیست آقا، یوسف دلی و قلب ماست پیرهنت. تو باغبان بقایی و میدمت تا حشر، به جای گل جگری پاره پاره از چمنت. روانه بود که هنگام خواندن قرآن، سرت بر نیکوبد و خون بیزده دهنت. تو بر نصیحت مردم گشوده بودی لب، چرا شکسته شده سنگ گوهر سخنت. نماز محروزوی نماز عشق تو بود که شد خون جبین سود باغ یاسمنت. فدای خون گلوی تو ای خدا را خون، که خون بهاست خداوندگار ظلمننت. شرار ناله میسم ز آسمان گذرد، چو یاد آورد از سرنه با خدا جا در دل اهل ولا دارد حسین هر طرف رو آوای صد کربلا دارد حسین ما به دست کربلا از اون مزار دیدیم در دل هر شیعه یک صحن و سرا دارد حسین قتلگاهش کعبه و آب فراتش زمزم است بلکه صد زمزم روان در چشم ما دارد حسین در بهای خون او شد خون بهای او خدا زن خدای بر همه خلق خدا دارد حسین این شنیده هست قرآن زینت هر خانه جای قرآن در تمام خانه ها دارد حسین جای قرآن و حسین در سینه پیغمبر است بلکه جا بر روی دوش مصطفی دارد حسین بلکه جا بر روی دوش مصطفی دارد حسین صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسنتم حاج حسن, جزاكم الله خير. Now inshallah we listen to our brother Dr. Akram. He prepared a poem for us. بسم الله حاج صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. This poem in Arabic in the commemoration of Imam Abu Fadl Abbas alayhi salam. This is one of the beautiful poems, inshallah. إني لأذكر للعباس موقفه بكربلاء وأمام القوم يختطف يحمي الحسين ويحميه على ظمأ ولا يولي ولا يثني فيختلف ولا أرى مشهدا يوما كمشهده مع الحسين عليه الفضل والشرف أكرم به مشهدا بانت فضيلته وما ضاع له أفعاله خلف. And this is also a poem by Sayyid Ja'far al-Hilli. It's also a nice poem. وقع العذاب على جيوش أمية من باسل هو في الوقائع معلم عبست وجوه القوم خوف الموت والعباس فيهم ضاحك متبسم وتشتكي العطش الفواطم عنده وبصدر صعدته الفرات المفعم قلب اليمين على الشمال وغاص في الأوساط يحصد الرؤوس ويحكم ولو استقى نهر المجرة لارتقى وطويل ذابله إليها سلم ولو سد ذو القرنين دون وروده نسفته همته بما هو أعظمه في كفه اليسرى السقاء يقله وبكفه اليمنى الحسام المخذم بطل إذا ركب المطهم خلته جبل أشم يخف فيه مطهم ما شد غضبانا على ملومة إلا وحل بها البلاء نورا. قسما بصارمي السقيل وإنني في غير صاعقة السماء لا أقسم. لولا القضاء لمحى الوجود بسيفي، والله يقضي ما يشاء ويحكم. صبغ الخيول برمحه حتى غدا، سيان أشقر لونها ولا دهم. وهو بجنب العلقم فليته للشاربين به يداف العلقم. وغدا يهم بأن يصول فلم يطق، كالليث إذا الظفار تتقلم. تالله لا أنسى بالفضل الذي بحسامه الموت الزغوم مجسم. يسطو عليهم كالهزبر بسيفه، فتراه يهدر مغضبا ويدمدم. يرمي الشرار حسامه فتخالها، شهبا لشيطان الكريهة يرجم. هذا إذا ملك الفرات بسيفه، وفؤاده بلظى الظمأ يتضرم. فأراد منه الشرب لكن صده عن شربه الأمر الأهم لا أعظم. وغدا يلوم النفس منه قائلا تردينه على الحسين يحرم. يا نفس هوني بعده، فلو أن من في الكون يفنى وابن أحمد يسلم. أردوه مقطع اليدين على الثرى، والرأس منه بالعمود مهشم. فأتى إليه الصبت يندب قائلا، والظهر حزنا كاد منه يقصم. فمشى لمصرعه الحسين وطرفه بين الخيام وبينه متقسم. ألقاه محجوب الجمال كأنه بدر بمنحطم الوشيج ملثم. فكب منحنيا عليه ودمعه صبر البسيط كأنما هو عندم. قد رام يلثم فلم ير موضعا لم يدمه عض السلاح فيلثم. نادى وقد ملأ البوادي صيحة، صم الصخور لأولياء تتألم. أخي من يحمي بنات محمد، إذ صرن يسترحمن من لا يرحم. أخي يهنيك النعيم ولم أخل، ترضى بأن أرزى وأنت منعم. ما خلت بعدك أن تشلى سواعدي، وتكف باصرتي وظهري يقصم. هذا حسامك من يذل به العدا، ولواك هذا من به يتقدم. يا مالكا صدر الشريعة إنني لقليل عمري في بكاك متمم. بطل تورث من أبي شجاعة، فيها أنوف بني الضلالة ترغم. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, just a quick announcement. Sister Khadija, she's waiting for the kids aged between 2 years and 7. She prepared a program for them at the dining area, main dining area, the one behind this building. So please parents, take your kids there. She's waiting for the kids. Jazakumullah khair. Now inshallah we continue the poems. We have Brother Yusuf prepare a poem for us. Brother Yusuf, Bismillah, you are ready. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Surah Al-Fatiha. It's from an excerpt from a compilation of poetry, The Murder of Imam Hussein. The Water Bearer. When Abbas saw that the end was quite near, he called on his brothers to go forth with no fear. These saintly young men, who had the same mother, loved Imam Hussein, their older half-brother. Abbas said, "O sons of my mother, it is time to go forth for the cause of our master. Let me see you stay true to Allah and his cause, and the Prophet Muhammad with no fear and no pause." Abdullah, Ja'far, and Uthman came forth to fight, with grown, hardened men who were opposing the right. Each lad was cut down by a man twice his age, and went on to glory to receive their just wage. Most of the males with Hussein were immature boys, but they faced death, pain, and slaughter for the hereafter's joys. These foolish tools of shaitans weren't out just to murder Imam Hussein. They inflicted ordeals on the whole household to cause everyone pain. Why else did they bar the whole party for the great Euphrates river? Why else did they bar the whole party for the great Euphrates water? Why didn't they spare the weak instead of bringing to them slaughter? As the afternoon waned, the wee children were so hurt from lack of water that tiny little Sakina, Imam Hussein's little daughter, led 40 wee children to petition just a few drops of water. They approached their uncle Abbas, and in one voice they pled, "We thirst. We thirst. If this thirst gets much worse, we soon will be dead." Sakina stepped up to speak to Abbas. "Oh, uncle, isn't there something you can do? There's no moisture anywhere, not even any dew. If just one leather canteen for us you could fill, we could all wet our throats, if it's be Allah's will." Abbas was a champion warrior, but the sight of these innocent babies begging for water hurt him worse than their young heroes, one by one tasting slaughter. So he picked up Sakina's water bag, his saber, and Prophet's battle flag, and with the Imam's sacred permission, charged straight for the river with just one ambition: to quench his favorite nieces and the other children's thirst, to fill that canteen before their thirst got much worse. Now those sick semi-mushriks could barely stand with the Hashemite youth. They were mowed down like grass by that great companion of truth. Abbas put a horrible hurt on those expandable pawns. They panicked and scattered, wanting just to be gone. They were falling so fast, chaos swept through their ranks. In fear, they deserted the cool river's banks. That very same river they had guarded for days, in fear of one man and the skill he displayed. Abbas filled his canteen. He was so keenly intent on quickly returning to the tents. After hearing those children's pitiful laments and observing from their feature that their deaths were imminent, that he would not relent to ease his own thirst torment with one drop of water from the Euphrates' swift running torrent. He simply filled his canteen, jumping on his horse, aimed him at Sakina's tent, and spurred his charger to gallop at flat-out spirit. This caused real concern to those impotent pawns of Yazid's illegal government. These pitiful, incompetent pawns couldn't efficiently deal with Hussein's heroic contingent when they were deprived of water and nourishment by these defenders of tyrannical devilment. What would it be like to cross swords with these suicidal zealots if Abbas' daring experiment actually did succeed and they were freed from thirst by one lone combatant? One lone combatant who managed to fetch water from a river that was blockaded by an entire mounted, well-armed regiment. If Abbas was allowed to achieve that superhuman accomplishment, it would be an empowering encouragement that would supplement the steel that was already part of their most excellent warrior temperament. That illegal government paid cowards never thought that water was for the children's nourishment, so they swooned down to prevent the bold experiment from becoming a very dangerous embarrassment. This time they fought harder, with more determination, but still they were entirely too incompetent to stand up to this Hashemite prince. And once again, a full regiment fled one man to escape his sword's terrible punishment. They fell back in fear and humiliating embarrassment, then sent for the archers to prevent this embarrassing development from turning into a rallying point that would make Hussein's men even more belligerent. Arrows came at Abbas from every direction. He turned and dashed toward the tent, using his body as the canteen's protection. He was seriously wounded, but he went intent on reaching the tents with the contents of that water bag intact. But when the tyrant's pawns saw Abbas's condition, they closed in and attacked. They surrounded Abbas like a wolf pack surrounding a crippled old stag. They cut deep into his flesh and cut off the hand that held the prophet's war flag. He saved the standard by trapping it between his body and the horse, and once again, he tried to maneuver to get back on his original course. But his mission of mercy was becoming harder to bring to reality. He was bleeding profusely from scores of wounds inflicted by the enemy. One hand was cut off already, and before he can compose himself, one of Yazid's minions, who was short on bravery, but not cunning and stealth, he concealed himself behind a sand dune. So when Abbas broke free from the wolves, in a day semi-swoon, this master of treachery suddenly appeared and cut off his other hand. The sword and the hand lay in the hot desert sand, but the man still tried to finish the mission impossible that he gallantly began. With the water bag and the prophet's flag pressed between his body and the horse, he fought to remain conscious, to get back on course. But they surrounded him again, this time with impunity. A man with no hands guaranteed their immunity. They cut at him viciously, but he still tried to get free, to get that bag to the children, with that life-saving liquid energy. But it wasn't just his blood that he heard spilling on the sand. His canteen was pierced by one of the arrows shot by the mercenary band. So,
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسنت أخي يوسف, جزاك الله خير. Brothers and sisters, parents, please, this is the last call. Sister Khadija is waiting for the kids, age between 2 years and 7, in the dining area, in the men's dining area, the building behind this building. So please take your kids there. She prepared an interesting program for them about Muharram, inshallah. Now, inshallah, we will listen to our guest speaker, Haj Wissam Bizi, for his speech for today. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad وآل محمد
اللهم صل على
محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. As these nights pass, we're getting closer to the end. These nights come and they go. What do we take from them? Rasulullah has a hadith and it's beautiful. And he says in the hadith, it says, Ana yawmun jadid. I am a new day. وَأَنَا عَلَيْكَ شَهِيد. And tomorrow I will be a witness against you. فَعْمَلْ بِيَ خَيْرًا. So do what? Good within me, within my hours. Take advantage. So as we get closer to the end of this journey of Karbala, you should begin your journey. Because it is a journey. It's a journey to get to the gate. Abbas got to the gate. Qasim got to the gate. They did their duty. Are we going to do our duty? It's not an easy road to travel. But if you have the navigation system, it's incredible. Now, when you look at the gate of the city, you don't have one. You have 12 that take us to the city. In the city, I want you to imagine if you were walking on the path and you get to the gate and you open the gate. You walk into the city. What do you think Rasulullah would ask you to go first? Where would he ask you to go? What's the center of the city? When he went from Mecca, from Medina to Mecca, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what was his first thing that he did? What did they do in Mecca? They let the camel, correct? They let his camel go. And where it sat, they were going to build the Prophet's what? House. And that became what? The first mentioned. In the city, these masajid are the core of the community. This is what we have to protect. That Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says an hour in a masjid is better for me than an hour sitting in heaven. And he said, one rak'ah in this dunya is better for me than what is in heaven, what is heaven and what is in it. Then he was asked why. Why? He says, because here there is ibadah. There is no more ibadah. You have heaven on earth. You have it. You know what it is? It's when you go into sujood. We all want heaven. We're all walking to the gate. But imagine when you're walking towards the gate, you're collecting emotions and feelings that not many people have in terms of emotional templates. Emotional templates are not just given. Let me give you an example. Think of a little kid or a little baby when they haven't tasted lemons yet. And what happens when they first taste the lemon? Do you think they know what the lemon is? They don't. But imagine when you first put that lemon in their mouth. What happens to their face? That experience hits so hard. It comes into the mind. And now what happens to the baby? Let's say it's a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old and they just started walking. And you just put that lemon in their mouth. What happens? You see the face, the grimace of the face? And they're like... Now, go to them again with the lemon. Watch what happens. They're like, I don't want that. What happened in the heart? What happened? That is emotional conditioning. That's how you condition the heart. Through that experience, you gain an emotional template that you connect to an idea. So all of us tonight, when we look at the gate, Imam Hussein is that gate. That gate is connected to an emotion on your name. And you set that up in your own heart. And how much are you willing to sacrifice for that gate? This is your opportunity, our opportunity, as a whole. So when we condition ourselves, we're not like that little baby that grimaces when we see Imam Hussein. And I'll give you even a better example. This is how you emotionally condition yourself. Right now, if I were to ask one of you, and forgive me for it's a little disgusting, but just bear with me. If I were to ask one of you to come up here, if I were to give you a cup, and I would tell you, sorry, spit in the cup. And after like maybe 5 minutes of you just releasing your saliva, I ask you to drink it. It's your saliva. It was just in your mouth. How come it's now disgusting? How come? There's a disgust system that we have inside our own brain. Your brain holds a disgust system, and it's heavily controlled by serotonin. You have a dopamine system. You have the dopaminergic and the serotonergic systems in the brain. Dopamine is connected to what? Happiness, pleasure, reward. So imagine when you hear Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, that releases dopamine. And imagine when someone is doing ghibah, that releases that serotonin. What are you doing? See how you're programming yourself? This is human engineering. This is incredible when you begin to study yourself like that. You begin to understand how you work. The inside system, Allah Azza wa Jal will bring it forth. And the more you understand it, the more you begin to understand your subconscious mind. So when you connect to the gate, there's something that happens in your heart that there's no way I'm ever going to leave this gate. Even if I have to give my life, not once, not twice, not 3 times, it doesn't matter. The time and space does not matter. Now what grabs the heart like that? What? Think about that. How did these people come up and stand to that kind of challenge? Abbas, Qasim, Abbas's brothers, Brother Yusuf, that was beautiful. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that, because that comes from a different place. To put words together and then to sew them and make them make sense and then have it connect emotionally, that's incredible. So I appreciate just the thoughts and the ideas that you have to put together. But you have to feel that first. So that allows this to work. And when that works, you're connecting further. Your heart is going deeper into the ocean. And I swear to you, please, take this from now till the day you die. Follow the truth. You will find your Imam. Just follow truth. That's your guidance system. Just follow that. الحق مع علي وعلي مع حق. That truth is everything. And it starts here. And you connect it to here, my God, what you have. We talked about that a little earlier. Now watch. The gate is there. And you're getting closer to the gate every second. Every second of your day that we lose, you're getting closer to what? The gate. You just better hope, what? It's the right gate. So Abbas is walking towards the water. Just imagine, even close your eyes if you want, and just go into your imagination. And he just, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and he's just getting closer. And think of the river in front of you. And you're just not thirsty. This is not survival. It's not just thirsty. And he gets, then imagine when he gets to the bank of the river. Just think about that. Think of that moment he gets to the bank of the river. Now the river is just right in front of him. Then imagine when he kneels down. And his knees go into the sand. Slow down the moment for you. Then just think of the feeling of the water touching his hand. How much appreciation do you think he has? Just to be able to touch the water. Just to touch the water. But now there's something here that's even worse. And you said it beautifully better. He had a bigger cause than the water. There was another thirst he's quenching. And what's that? What's that thirst? That's the thirst me and you need to long for. His spiritual thirst. That's something amazing. You begin to think like that, talk, walk like that, something happens in your heart. So now on those levels, how do we train ourselves? How do you train the heart? That you condition it. It submits to you. You don't submit to it. So now, it's part of your brain. It's got dorsal, lateral, prefrontal cortex. Then you have the ventral medial prefrontal cortex. One is responsible for cold cognitions. One is responsible for hot cognitions. Hot cognitions is when you're personally involved in a situation. Let's say I talk about you, you're personally involved. Let's say I lie to you, you're personally involved. That activates that part of the brain. Medial, ventral meaning lower, medial meaning in the middle, okay? When that happens and that hits, you're not involved. So whenever you get into a conversation, come on, could you guys move up a little bit, please? Just let everybody in. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So now, these two parts of the brain, if you are involved, it's very difficult to give advice. You know why? Because now you're activated. And you know what that does? That shuts off that front part of the brain. So now you're just black and white. You know, like how it's easy to give other people advice, but when you're in a situation, like your brain just shuts off, you can't think, and now you have to call someone else to give you advice? This is why. Because when you're personally involved, different regions of the brain activate. Let me take you a little further. Because I'm going to build this, inshallah, we'll get to the end. Now, the brain takes in millions of bits of information per second. Millions of bits of information. And it knocks it down, and it filters it to about 7 bits of information per second. Let me show you how it works. Remember how we talked the subconscious and the conscious mind? Remember how we talked about that? Now watch this. Right now you're sitting on the floor. I'm going to take you from a conscious level to a subconscious level and show you how information is coming in and you don't realize it. Think of the pressure of the floor on your body. What just happened? You shifted your focus to an attention that you didn't realize was actually coming in. It's actually a tune down. It's coming in. But the subconscious mind is taking in a lot more information that you can take in consciously. So now, how does the mind filter out information? There's a part of your brain that's called the thalamus. And there's another part called the reticular formation. Those two parts of the brain filter out information. Now watch this, please. When this part filters out that information, do you know how it does it? How does that part of your brain, Allah Azza wa Jalla has designed it to filter out information? And I'll give you a perfect example. How many of you have just got a new car? Okay, Yusuf. Okay, brother as well. Okay, maybe it's a bad example. Maybe I should not use it. But okay, brother Yusuf, I want you to attest to this, okay? Now what happens? Let's say you just got a new car. Brother Yusuf goes to the dealership. He goes in there. The guy's talking to him. Brother Yusuf is negotiating, dealing. He's like, man, I can't get this. I want this color. He buys the car. As soon as he leaves off the parking lot, you know what happens? Brother Yusuf starts to notice the car everywhere. Right? Wrong? So, why does that happen? You didn't notice it before. It wasn't really important to you. So the brain filters out information based on what? Importance. Now think of Abbas walking to the water. How important is the water? You tell me how important that is. For his own what? His own survival. His own self. Then when he says, Ya nafsu inda al-Husayn, huni. Think about that. Look how important water is in that moment. But what does Abbas do? Instead of quenching the physical thirst, he quenches what? The metaphysical thirst. That's another level. That's another level that Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, what he says, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says, Rahim Allah ammi al-Abbas. This is Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, Kana, he was. He says, Nafid al-Basira. Did you guys know that Abbas was a jurist? He was a jurist. He was about 34 years old. He was a jurist. So he wasn't just a valiant fighter. He was a warrior, no problem. But he was a warrior up here too. Get your knowledge. You need your knowledge. So now what happens? When you begin to move on these levels, and then Imam Sadiq, let me finish the hadith. Then he says what? He had this ability to tell the self what? No. That was Abbas. Your training to get into the battlefield eventually is not in the battlefield. The battlefield is moments. The training that goes into that, that's a lifetime. Because when you get and arrive and you get to that close to the gate, you want to be able to see it. So now, the way your brain works, the way you've set things up properly, and now you've conditioned the heart, and you're in submission to Allah, and you're moving on the road. And when temptations are coming, you're saying what? No, I'm not going to do that. And now you're taking it itself higher and higher and higher. So what happens when you begin to make mistakes? Who are the most beautiful people we usually go to? When we have trouble when we're young, what happens? Who do we go to? Who? Parents. Mama, Baba. Who's Abbas's mother? Umm. Now think of her sacrifice. Not one, not two, not three, 4. What are you willing to present? When you stand in front of Allah on that day, what are you willing to present? That He comes to her and He says, Abdam Allah, wujuh. And He's speaking directly to her. Now, look at the sacrifice, but what is important? And what is more important? Is the gate more important than her sons? Or are her sons more important than what? The gate. When he first says, from Uthman, Abdullah, Ja'far, she doesn't what? What does she respond? How does she respond? What is more important to her? The gate or her sons? Think of what you're doing on a daily level. Is the gate more important? Or is your business more important? Is the gate more important? Or you think in the Quran. Please study the Quran. Please, I'm telling you, just read it. Just read it. It's right there next to you. Don't put it as a decoration. Read it. And it says in the Quran, يَوْمَ يَفُرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ وَصَاحِبَتِهِ وَبَنِيهِ لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مِّنْهُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ شَأْنٌ يُغْنِيهِ. On that day, you will what? Flee from your brother, your mother, your father, your wife, your husband, your children. On that day, you're going to have something that's going to occupy you, just like everyone else. So stand on the road. Then, in another verse, it says, قُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَهْلِيكُمْ نَارًا وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ. It's coming. When you enter the gate, and hopefully Rasulullah, inshallah, is there, and He accepts you and takes you in. Man, what you've got. So on that day, save yourselves. And who? Your children. Do you think she's thinking about her children? Who's she thinking about? She's thinking about the gate. Now watch this, please. This is what we have to get to. Allah gives a beautiful example in the Quran. That's why I'm telling you, study the Quran. Look at importance. Look at the importance of things and how it's set up. We're talking about importance and how the mind filters information, right? What is more important to you? I'll give you an example. When I'm dealing with my clients, and I tell someone, listen, you did this, this, and this. He's like, I forgot. I said, then it's not important to you. Because your mind messed it out. So on that level, you got to be very important. You got to really understand the way you filter out information. So now, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَىٰ أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ وَلَا تَخَافِي وَلَا تَحْزَنِي. What does Allah say? He says, إِنَّ رَدُّوهُ إِلَيْكِ. And we've what? Inspired the heart of Musa's mother. Now think of the connection between a child and what? A mother. Reptiles, when the turtle lays an egg, its eggs, it leaves them. Does it need any caretaking? Do the eggs need, when they hatch, do they need any caretaking? It just leaves them. Allah's programmed that. But think of birds. What happens with a bird when a bird, imagine the mother would do the same thing as the baby turtle. Or the mother that's a turtle. Imagine, you know what, one day she decides, I don't want to do this anymore. Forget you guys. Why is that connection so important? It's for survival. Human beings take what? The most time to develop. Qasim was 15 years old. Please, brothers who are young, please listen to this. Please. When you hit about 14 to 15, please listen. Please. I'm going to bring you back to the point, but I'm just going to go in here because it just hit me. So please. When you're 15, your limbic system is fully engaged, meaning your desires are fully intact. There's myelination that happens from the back of the brain to the front of the brain. That happens, and it is done when you're 25 years of age. So from 15 to 25, you're just walking, talking what? Desires. And the control system is not fully intact. You have a Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes and a loose steering wheel. Okay? I can't give you a better example than what I just gave you. Just understand that, please. And don't think your parents are trying to restrict you. They're trying to protect you. They're trying to protect your personal interest in the future and the now. These are things you can't see yet. So believe in them. Believe in your parents. Believe what they're trying to do for you, because they're trying to protect you. Al-Baneen was protecting her kids. Musa's mother was protecting her kids. How? By the gate. وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَى أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ فَإِذَا if you fear over him, Al-Baneen sent who? Sent her sons into battle without any fear. Now watch this. The mother of Musa is walking up to the river. Same idea. She's walking up to the river. Does she still have control? Can she turn back? Yes, she can. She gets to the bank of the river. Can she turn back? Yes. Imagine when she puts the basket in the river. She can still pull it out. Please. This is faith. Imagine the moment she lets go. Let go. Let go. And say, Ya Hussein. Let go. It doesn't matter. The world doesn't matter anymore. When you let go like that, you can have the heart of Abbas. You can have the heart of Qasim. Doesn't matter how young you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. The world can come to you, give you everything. And you know what you would say? No. I'm okay. My heart is too intact. I won't move. I won't move. That Abbas says what? If you were to cut off my right hand, my left hand, cut off whatever you want. I will always what? Defend this which is connected to what? The gate. That's how we have to work. That's how you have to program your own mind. Doesn't matter how young you are. Don't think because you're young, you're free. You're not free. You're disadvantaged. You got a loose steering wheel, I'm sorry. Okay? But you gotta listen. You gotta listen. A lot of us right now, we're going through a lot of trouble in our teenage years. A lot of trouble. You can see it everywhere. My parents, I want nothing to do with them. Over and over and over you see it. Your parents mean you no harm. So on that level, please, from Qasim to Ja'far to Uthman to Abdullah to Abbas, the flag bearer. How do you become that king? How do you become that example? That he was what? Salbul Iman. Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam completes that. He was what? That epitome of faith. Faith is in here. It's in here. You have to dive to the inside world. Put the internal puzzle together first. Then you realize that you're one piece of the human puzzle. And you know what happens after that? You have to find where you fit in the human puzzle. Look where you are. Look how lucky you are to be sitting in this masjid. Why are we here? Because of the flag bearer who's pointing you towards what? The gate. Imam Hussein is the gate. Imam Hassan is the gate. Imam Ali is the gate. And Rasulullah is the city that takes us where? To Allah Azza wa Jalla. Submit your heart. Tonight, stay up. And please remember me, if you stay up, remember me in your dua. We all need it. But stay up tonight. Do salat al-layl. Do the extra things that you need and submit your heart further. And if you have a problem in your heart, you have something where, let's say you see someone, you feel a little jealousy, say, Ya Allah, I don't want to feel that. Say, Ya Allah, I don't want to go towards that. And then do this, and I'll leave you with this. Just like Abbas, drop the water, drop the want, drop your want, and see what happens to your heart. See what happens when you feel a little jealous from someone. Say, you know what, I don't want what they have. Drop your want, drop the water. Think of that moment when Abbas dropped the water. Drop your want like that. And then see what happens to your heart. See what ignites, what emotions you taste when that happens. This is why we stand. You are in Karbala right now. You are in the sand. You are thirsty. But just look at the gate. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And decided to sit close to the woman. At this point, Al-Abbas alayhi salam stood. Kulthum wanted to hold him down. So when Imam al-Hussein shouted, Ukhayya, Ukhayya, da'i, faqad ishtaqa al-habib ila habib. Oh sister, leave him, for they miss him there. Imam Ali misses Abu al-Fadl. Fatima misses Abu al-Fadl. Imam al-Hussein sees Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas get on his horse. He sees him put the container of water to his side and sees Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas charge towards the river. Al-Abbas rode his horse. With him was the skin container to fill with water. 4,000 soldiers surrounded Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas and started raining arrows at Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Al-Abbas wasn't afraid of them. He attacked them and they didn't know if it was Karbala or Siffin. They didn't know if it was Al-Abbas or Ali ibn Abi Talib who just came back from death. They didn't know if it was the angel of death or a man fighting them on that day. After splitting the army, Al-Abbas reached the Euphrates River. He got down from his horse and went into the water. Being in the water, he saw how it sparkled. He picked up the water in his hands to drink. But then he remembered Imam al-Hussein and the thirsty children in the camp. He remembered Sukaina. He remembered Abdullah al-Rabi'. We say he didn't drink. We say he didn't drink. But he wanted to show the world, look, the water's in my hands, but I chose not to drink. He threw the water from his hands, saying, Ya nafsu min ba'd al-Husayn وبعده لا كنت أن تكوني هذا حسين الوارد المنون وتشربين بارد المعين تالله ما هذا فعال ديني. O soul, after Hussein you have no worth. May you not live after him. Hussein is approaching his death and you want to drink the cold flowing water. By Allah, this act is not a part of my religion. Al-Abbas fills the container. He's thirsty, so hot. He got onto his horse. He began riding back to the camp. The many soldiers stood in front of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, preventing him from going back back to the camp. Al-Abbas attacked and killed many of them. He pushed them away and destroyed their blockage, saying, لا أرهب الموت بالموت زقا. لا أرهب الموت إذا الموت زقا. حتى أواري في المساليات لقى. نفسي لصدق المصطفى الطهر وقى. إني أنا العباس أغدو بالسقاء. He says, I am an Abbas and I don't fear death when it comes to me. My job is to get the water to the camp, even if it means destroying all of you. Zayd ibn Ruqad al-Juhani, it said, hid behind the palm tree, while Hakim ibn Tufayl went behind another one helping him. They saw Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas going through the path of the palm trees. He went through the palm trees. It was safer for him instead of going through the armies. The Imam Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas going through the palm trees, he went by the palm tree of Zayd ibn Ruqad. Zayd ibn Ruqad sees the hand of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas shining as if it was calling him. He gripped the sword, he raised the blade, and severed the right hand of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas felt the sting, he felt the burn, so he said his famous words, Wallahi in qata'tumu yamini, إني أحامي أبدا عن ديني وعن إمام صادق اليقين نجل النبي المصطفى الأمين. By Allah, if you cut my right hand, I will certainly defend my religion and an Imam with true certainty, the son of the pure, trustworthy Prophet. And Abbas alayhi salam grabbed his sword with his left hand. He continued his way. His only way was getting the water to the Imam. It's as if he's telling himself, let them take my right hand. Don't let them take the water. Hussein will die from thirst. Hakim ibn Tufayl hid behind the other tree. When Abbas came by the other tree, Hakim raised the sword, aimed for the left hand of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, and struck the left hand of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. And when the left hand fell, he said, يا نفس لا تخشي من الكفار وأبشري برحمة الجبار مع النبي المصطفى المختار قد قطعوا ببغيهم يساري. Oh soul, don't fear the wicked and have glad tidings for reaching the mercy of Allah. They cut my left hand, Ya Allah, let them fear, let them feel the heat of fire. His only worry was to get the water to the Imam. He began rushing. Many soldiers gathered to block Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. When Umar ibn Sa'd saw him rushing, he called out, throw arrows at the container, for if a drop of water reaches Hussein, none of you will stay alive. Arrows were coming at Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas like rain. An arrow pierced through the skin container. And Abbas stopped. Now he was confused. All of a sudden, an arrow hit the chest of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. Another pierced his right eye. The blood of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas covered the left eye. No hands to protect him. No water for the family. No eyes to see. It said Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas bent down to take the arrow from his right eye out with his knees. At that point, his helmet fell from his head. Now the head of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is facing the sun. Now the head of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is open. All of a sudden, a man comes from behind Abu al-Fadl الفضل العباس وطلع البار and strikes Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas on his head. He found calling out for the first time in his life, عليك مني السلام يا أبا عبد الله أدركني يا أخي. My brother Hussein, save me يا أبا عبد الله. When Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam heard Abu al-Fadl, he said, الآن انكسر ظهري, الآن قلت حيلتي. Now my backbone has broke. I don't see a way out, and my enemy sees what's happening to me. The Imam rode until he stopped. He rode towards Abu al-Fadl, but all of a sudden he stopped. He went down to the ground and picked up something and kissed it. He rode some more. He saw something on the ground. He picked it up and he kissed it. What were the two things that he picked up? They were the left and right hand of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. The Imam got to his brother. He saw him laying on the ground. No hands, no eye. Blood covered the one eye of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. So Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas sees this figure coming to him. He thought it was one of the men coming to kill him. So he said, "Oh you, give me a bit of time. I need one more thing. I need to see my brother Abu Abdullah al-Hussein." This is the second time he refers to him as his brother. The Imam cried and said, "Ya Abbas, Ya Abbas, I'm your brother, Ya Abbas." The Imam sat by his brother's side and put Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas' head in his lap. Feeling this, al-Abbas moved his head from Imam al-Hussein's lap. The Imam did it again, but al-Abbas moved his head once again. For the third time, the Imam put Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas' head in his lap, but he moved it onto the sand. Imam al-Hussein said to him, brother, why are you doing this? Why do I see you moving your head from my lap? This is the last time, Ya Abbas. So the Imam, so Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas said to him, brother, light of my eye. How can I not do this when right now you come to me and taken my head? But after a while, who's going to be raising your head off the sand, Ya Abu Abdullah? Who will wipe the sand off your face, Ya Hussein? Imam al-Hussein bent down to carry Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas back to the camp. Al-Abbas opened his one eye and looked at the Imam. He said to him, where are you taking me, oh brother, Ya Hussein? The Imam said to the camp. So Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas said to him, brother, by the right of our grandfather Rasulullah, your grandfather Rasulullah, don't carry me, leave me where I am, next to the river. Why? Why shouldn't I take you back to the camp? He said, there's two reasons. One is that I promised Sukaina that I'll come back with water, but I don't have water. I'm ashamed of her. And the second is because death has come to me, Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, leave me beside the river, for death has come to me. The Imam returned back to the camp. They got to the camp and the first person he saw was Sukaina. She said to him, Father, did my uncle Al-Fadl al-Abbas bring us some water? So the Imam replied, Allahu lak al-an, Ya Sukaina, bi'ammik al-Abbas.
رحم الله من ذكر قائم آل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.